Hello. So today we'll talk about a very interesting chapter indeed. It is named Lucky Oliver. So let's start. Oliver's Twist is Charles Dickens' second novel and it is about a pale and a thin boy named Oliver Twist who is used by the thieves to break into a house. Finally, Oliver finds some affectionate people. So what do we mean by affectionate, students? Affectionate means kind people. So it is a story about a little pale boy, a tiny boy who is an orphan and who becomes very lucky because he finally finds a family. So let's start, students. Oh please, Dr. Lusburn, will you come upstairs and look at the poor creature? Rose begged. So there is the character Rose who tells Dr. Osborne that please come upstairs and look at the condition of the boy. So who is this little boy? He is Oliver, who is an orphan. Okay, of course, said the doctor. Will you show me the way, Giles? Giles led the doctor to the patient. So now Giles is saying that let me show you the way of upstairs where the boy is lying on the bed. So doctor, let me take you to that way. So the doctor was absent from the dining room for a long time. A large flat box was fetched out. So what do we mean by fetched out, students? Fetched out means something taking out. So the doctor is taking out something from his carriage. The bell in the bedroom was rung again and again. The servant went hurrying up and down the stairs. At last, the doctor came to the dining room to speak to the ladies. So now the doctor was absent from the dining room. He went upstairs to look at the poor boy and now the doctor is coming down and now he will speak to all the ladies present in the dining room. This is an extraordinary thing, Mr. Maylie, he said. He is not in danger, I hope. The old lady said. So now the old lady is worried about the little boy and she asked the doctor that I hope nothing is wrong with the boy. So now the doctor is like, no, there is nothing wrong with the boy. The boy is out of danger. No, he'll be well again in a week or two. So now the doctor is saying that he is going to be well and good on his feet in 2 to 3 weeks only. So the doctor informed them. Then he asked them, have you seen this thief? No. Hasn't Giles told you anything about him? No. Would you like to see if I come with you? Yes, I'd like to. And I'd like Rose to come as well. So now the doctor is saying, have you seen this thief? He is asking both the ladies, Rose, Maylie and Giles. He is asking, have you seen the thief? So now the ladies are like, we haven't seen the thief. So now the doctor is saying, yes, I'd like to and I'd like Rose to come as well, if she will. The doctor took the ladies upstairs to Giles' room. He pointed towards the bed. There he is, the wicked thief, he said. So what do we mean by wicked thief, students? Wicked means someone who is very cruel, someone who is very shrewd person, someone who is very bad person. So the two ladies looked. To their astonishment, they saw a child there, fast asleep, a mere child. His face was white, his head rested on one of his arms, which means that both of the ladies were astonished. What do we mean by astonished, students? Astonished means they were surprised to see that a thief was just a little tiny pale boy who was sleeping on the bed peacefully. The ladies crept softly to his bed. Miss Rose bent over him. With a gentle hand, she brushed his hair from his forehead. The boy moved and smiled in his sleep as if he felt her kindness. So now what did Rose do? Rose sat near the boy and she slowly and steadily brushed her hands on the boy's forehead and the boy smiled. The little boy smiled in his sleep. What can this mean? Mr. Maylie asked. This poor child is no thief. So now Mr. Maylie is saying that this poor child cannot be a thief. Let's go into the next room, Dr. Lesburn said to the ladies. So now Dr. Lesburn is saying, let's go in the other room and we should let the boy sleep and we'll talk in the other room, next room, without disturbing the boy. We must not wake him up. There Miss Rose continued. Think how young he is. Perhaps he has never known a mother's care. So now Miss Rose is very sympathetic about the boy. She is saying that think how young he is. He cannot be a thief. He is very young, he is very thin, very pale. He is just a child. He cannot be a thief. Perhaps he has never known a mother's care. Perhaps he has never had a home. Poor, poor boy. Oh, auntie, don't let them send this boy to prison. So now Miss Rose is saying that please we shouldn't let this thief sent to the prison. He is just a little boy. He might not have got the mother's care, or he is orphan, so he doesn't even have a home. So we should keep him, please. We shouldn't send him to a prison, which is a very cruel place. My dear, said the old lady, do you think that I would harm one hair of his head? So now the old lady is saying that I wouldn't even harm a pinch of this boy, because I know that this boy is not a thief. I haven't much longer to live. I must help all I can. What can I do to help this boy, Dr. Lesburn? So now the old lady is asking, what should I do to help this boy, because I only have few days to live. I want to help him as soon as possible. Let me think, the kind-hearted doctor said. For some moments he looked thoughtfully. Then he said, can we trust the servants to say nothing about the boy? Yes, Mrs. Maylie told him. They'll do as I tell them. So now Miss Maylie is saying to the doctor that yes, we can trust the servants around our house. Absolutely, we trust our servants, and our servants is not gonna say anything to the boy. So let me think. The kind-hearted doctor says that let me think something, and he comes out with a very thoughtful idea. Let's see, students, what is the thoughtful idea that the doctor is going to propose now. Good, said the doctor. But first of all, let us hear what the boy has to say when he wakes up. So now the doctor is saying, good, I have an idea, but let the boy wake up and we'll ask him how did he end up in such a miserable situation. But first of all, let us hear what the boy has to say. So now the doctor is saying, let the boy wake up. If we find him innocent, we will help him. But if we find that he is guilty, then we must hand him over to the police. Do you agree? So now the doctor is saying, let the boy wake up and we'll hear his side of the story, that how he ended up in such a miserable situation with all the thieves and ended up here. So let us listen to the boy's side of the story and decide if he is innocent or guilty. And if we find that he is guilty, then we'll send him to the jail. The two ladies readily agreed, for they were sure that Oliver was innocent. So now the ladies agreed, absolutely agreed, because they knew that Oliver was innocent. Oliver slept on for many hours. In the evening, when he woke up, he was very weak, but he was anxious to tell his story. So what do we mean by anxious, students? Anxious means keen. He was very keen to tell his side of the story and to prove that he was very innocent. The ladies wept as they heard of his miserable life. The kind-hearted doctor tried hard to hide his tears. They did their best to confront the boy. Oliver slept that night with a smile on his lips. So now they all are making Oliver comfortable after listening his side of the story, that he was very orphan and ended in such a miserable situation with all the thieves around them. And while in the fight with the thieves, the Oliver got shot in his arms and was left unconscious miserably. So that was the whole backstory of Oliver Twist. So now the Oliver is sleeping on his bed, and Oliver slept that night with a smile on his lips. So now the Oliver has found a home, many people who will take care of him, and now the Oliver is sleeping peacefully. He has found a home. When the police came to ask questions, Mrs. Gales and Brittles were ready with their story. Oliver had accidentally wounded himself while playing with the gun. So now the Oliver has accidentally wounded. Wounded means, students, that he was accidentally injured while playing with a gun. He had nothing to do with the robbery. So the robbery which took place in that house, he had nothing to do with that robbery, and Oliver was accidentally wounded while playing with the gun. So the housebreakers were two evil-looking men. The servants, with the help of Dr. Osborne, told their stories as well. So now the servants are also telling their side of the story, that there were two other evil-looking men who were behind the whole robbery, and Oliver had nothing to do with it. The police believed them. Oliver was left in peace. So now the police went away. Oliver found love and kindness. Indeed, Mrs. Maylie and Rose loved the boy, and of course Mrs. Maylie and Rose loved the boy. So did kind-hearted Dr. Lusburn. At the beginning of spring, the Maylies took Oliver to their house in their country. There the fruit trees were in blossom, which means that the fruit trees were growing, they were flowering, okay? It was the springtime. The garden and the fields were full of flowers because it was spring, so everything was green and flowery. Oliver had never known such peace and such happiness. As Oliver was an orphan child, so he never had a house, the kindness, the peace to live with someone. So now Oliver is at peace that he has finally found a home. Every morning Oliver went to an old gentleman who taught him to read and to write. He went for a walk with Rose and Mrs. Maylie. In the evening, they sat together and talked, or Rose read aloud to them. So now Oliver is getting a formal education from all the people around him. Often Rose played the piano and sang. Old Mrs. Maylie loved to listen to this. So now everyone is enjoying, everyone is happy, everyone is at peace because Oliver found a home and everyone loved Oliver. So did Oliver. Every night he slept peacefully in a clean bed in his own home. So we have come to the end of the chapter, students. I hope you all enjoyed the chapter. Thank you, and do carry on with the exercise given in the chapter.